The Denver Nuggets are the 2023 NBA champions. Man, it sounds so good to say that. Something I've been wanting all postseason. You know, after the Suns were eliminated, I was like, okay, I'm Denver all the way. Made me even a bigger fan of Jokic and the Nuggets. And honestly, if you would say, hey, the Suns could win with the current team constructed or the Nuggets could win this year, I would honestly still, as a Suns fan, my whole life, pick the Nuggets. They are, by far and away the most deserving team. They have the best player in the league, a great number two who's been through a lot. It's a great feel-good story. They've never won a championship. The Suns haven't either, but Denver truly deserved it. I'm very happy. The Heat were a good opponent. I think, and this could go into a point I'm going to speak about later. I think the Heat were arguably the hardest matchup for Denver. I mean, you could say the Bucks, if they were playing at their peak, would be, I think most people would agree, but I think the Heat would, were more difficult for Denver than the Celtics would have been. I mean, gosh, this Denver team is just, like I've mentioned in other videos, I think it's the best team. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I think it's the best team I've seen since, like the 2016 Warriors with Kevin Durant. Just amazing. All around, well-rounded team. They play together. They have good depth. Everybody contributes in individual ways. I mean, it's so much fun to watch. So, I mean, I don't think they would have had much trouble with anybody, but I think the Heat were a good challenge just because they're super tough. They're scrappy. They have, they're the zombie Heat. That's really the best way to say it. They never die. So, this game is so jumbled up in my head. It was kind of a crazy game. So many different things happened throughout. So I don't know if I have a clear recap, especially after, the post-game festivities and all that. So I'm kind of just going to go through here team by team and just speak to, what I thought. You could start with the Heat. So Butler was a big story at the end of the game. He hit some big shots, had one first. Okay, I was going to lead in to say had a terrible call in his favor. Reffing was horrible. It was just terrible, particularly at the end. That call, I thought, man, they're about to rob the Nuggets of a chance to win at their home court with that three-point foul call on Jimmy Butler. Luckily, it didn't come back to haunt, basketball by preventing the Nuggets from winning on their home court. But Jimmy, he was aided by that, but he hit some big shots. We're like, oh my goodness, the zombies, here they come. But he had some terrible shots down the stretch, some bad offensive possessions. Denver hunkered down and played good defense. I think I'm not going to rip him. He had a great postseason, but that people are very quick to hype him up after this postseason he's had. But to me, I'm like, you can't not play for 3 quarters. He was 5 for 18 to 21 points, 9 for 11 from the line, and hit a couple threes in the fourth quarter. I mean, it all came in the fourth, really. And so my thoughts, like, man, you can't just not play. So, whatever. He had a great postseason, though. You don't want to take anything away from him. Bam Adebayo, amazing finals. Definitely the MVP of the finals for the Miami Heat. But a similar, something happened today, and I think it's been happening in most of the games this series. It's where he has such amazing first halves. He had about 16, 18 points in the first half. And then in the second half, especially in the third quarter, gets phased out for some reason. I don't know what it is. I think Miami really comes out of the half. That was one of the big takeaways of them this series. They've come out of the half, and their offense kind of shuts down. It's really inexplicable. So, I thought that was a theme tonight, and, continues still at 20 and 12. Vincent, great postseason. Didn't have a great finals, but he really got phased out. It was kind of you could say, quote unquote, unfair. I mean, he got into some foul trouble, I think, game 3, that kind of prevented him from playing. And then Lowry just played so well, it took a lot of minutes away. So that just can happen in a series, in the flow of a series. But overall, amazing postseason for Vincent. I missed Love. Love was very, great contributions. The fact that he was able to just somehow escape the Cavs for nothing is crazy. But good contributions from him. Strus had a great game in this one. And over the postseason, he had big moments. He didn't shoot the best, but he contributed in other ways. Great job for him. Duncan didn't really get many minutes tonight. And this can go actually into something else. I felt like I would like to see Hero in the game. Just to see Tyler Hero in the game. It was tricky. There were moments where I was like, I'd like him in, but then I look at the lineup on the court and I'm like, I don't know if I want him in. It's tough. It was going to be tough to fit him in, but I would have, potentially liked to see him. But speaking about Robinson made me think of that. Robinson didn't get a ton of minutes tonight, but man, it was so great to have him back. I'm a big fan of his, and he was getting a little bit phased out of the lineup, but he totally earned his, spot back in. He had a great postseason. Caleb Martin. I always confuse them. Great, great finish to the series. It looked like, man, he had a conference finals and then didn't do so great in the finals. And that's true. He didn't do great in the first couple of games, but throughout the series, he progressively got better. And one thing I note about him is, man, this guy can really get to the rim. So, you know, another one of their undrafted guys that's just been awesome. And then last but not least, Kyle Lowry. I call him the chubby guy sometimes because he's just obnoxious, almost Chris Paul level obnoxious, of always flopping, always hunting for the cheapest of fouls, you know, waddling around on the court. But he's a veteran. He's a wily veteran, hit like 4 huge threes tonight. He's always taking a charge. You know, it's just poking the ball out on rebounds. It's very frustrating when you're rooting against him, but, you know, nothing but respect. He's, you know, good run for him. I didn't think he had this much left in the tank, but he was huge for them this postseason. All right, now let's get to the Nuggets. Tonight, I mean, the story was Jokic. The supporting cast was very off. I mean, I thought the Nuggets played the worst first half, arguably, that I've ever seen them play this postseason. They were completely off. You know, you go through, you read the shooting percentages for all their players. I mean, there aren't many that are shooting 40% tonight. I mean, KCP was 4 for 10. But then you look at it, Porter was very, very solid, and I'll get into it, but he shot terribly from beyond the arc. But he was 7 for 17. You know, Murray was 6 for 15. Brown was 4 for 14. So it just wasn't the best shooting game for the team. They shot 56% from the line. So, I mean, it was a shaky game for the Nuggets, but they really came through on the defensive end. You know, I think, like I spoke to with the Heat's offense, kind of just coming out terrible in the third quarters of the series. I think a lot of that has to do with the defense. Denver coming out with an intensity in the third quarter, but, you know, they were able to play well. Defensively, Jokic, you know, it just was so clear when he was off the court early because of those fouls, how much of an impact it had on the game. You know, things were very sloppy throughout. I think I saw Jokic made his first sloppy cross-court turnover I've seen in, you know, a while. But they gutted it out. What else can you say? They're the champs. They won in 5, so I'm happy about my prediction being correct of the Nuggets in 5. But, you know, they got contributions everywhere at the right moments tonight. I think that's the best thing I can say about this team. Gordon, I'm just going to go kind of do what I did with the Heat and just run through and give a recap. But, man, Gordon, the narrative is that he's given up his own scoring for the team. And I kind of understand that he wouldn't be an amazing scorer on this team. You know, maybe he'd average slightly more points, but he has totally bought into the role. Was huge. Extremely strong player, strong defensively, attacks the boards, you know, always a lob threat. I mean, this guy was awesome all series, and he had a big last game, game 4. MPJ finally broke out of his shell a little bit. He was still 1 for 6 from 3. He finally hit a 3. He was frustrating this series because he was just completely off. But as the series progressed, like I said about Caleb Martin, how he got better as the series progressed, Porter got better, and it's because he was engaged. And that was something you always kind of question with Porter, is his engagement in the game. If he's not hitting shots or crazy hot, completely engaged. So he had a great game tonight. He had 16 points, 13 rebounds. You know, he was an impact defensively. That's all you want to see out of the third guy. It's all you want to see out of Michael Porter Jr., man. He had that amazing between the legs going in for a layup. I mean, this guy, he's so talented. I think there's so much left in the tank with him. He's untapped. So, you know, I think as a third here in Denver, he's in a great spot. We're going to skip over Jokic because we'll finish with him. And we'll finish, you know, the penultimate guy will be Murray. So KCP, man, I am very... I feel like I need to apologize to KCP because I always just thought of him, especially on that Lakers run when I'm rooting against the Lakers, and, you know, they just had a bunch of old veterans thrown together with LeBron and AD. I'm like, this guy's just old news. What is he doing here? How is he in the finals? How is he starting? You know, I had that criticism, but I have to give this guy a lot of credit. He is super strong defensively. He always finds his way into big moments. He shoots well from the free throw line. You know, he was off from 3 tonight, but he's a great 3-and-D threat, but especially his defense. You know, he's very competent in the post, good perimeter defender, always swiping the ball. I mean, I have a lot of good things to say about KCP, and it was a great pickup for the Nuggets. Jeff Green didn't get a lot of minutes tonight, but he's a guy, you know, if you would ask me heading into the postseason, is this guy going to be important for the Nuggets? I'm like, what? I mean, no, this guy's old. He's been around forever. He's just a veteran, but this guy, he always had 1 or 2 just vicious dunks. His athleticism at this age, 36, I believe, is still crazy. But he really had contributed in a lot of big ways in this postseason for the Nuggets. So good for him to finally get a ring. We had a DeAndre Jordan sighting tonight. Okay, Christian Braun. I'm going to keep calling him that. Man, this guy is absolutely legit. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this kid because I think he's younger than me, which is weird, but he completely proved that this guy, you know, he's here to stay. I think he is a perfect role player for the Nuggets, you know, behind the trio of Jokic, Murray, and Porter. This guy, he plays so hard. I did not realize how much of a stud he is defensively. In the Suns series, I'm like, come on. Braun is guarding Durant. Go to work on this guy. But, you know, his defense, I felt, even got better throughout the series, throughout the postseason, excuse me. Super strong defensively, cuts well to the rim, has a good handle, shoots well from the free throw line. You know, underrated as far as athleticism. I mean, this guy, he's going to be here for a while. And if he can start creating a little bit more, I see Mikal Bridges on the Suns out of him, you know, and maybe even a little bit closer to Mikal on the Nets. You know, who knows? But this guy, and nothing but good things to say about his future. And he, you know, won the championship last year in college, and now he won it with the Nuggets this year. So good for him. Okay, we're going to get to some of the guys I feel like deserve a little bit more. But Bruce Brown bounced around at the beginning of his career, was on the Pistons, I believe, and then the Nets. He may have had another stop in between there. But wow, what a season for him, you know, coming into the Nuggets. And this is just an example. I'll do a, you know what, now that I'm just talking, I don't want to go too long because I'm already 11 minutes in. So I'll talk about the future for both of the teams in another videos, particularly the Nuggets. But, you know, I think he's a prime example of why I think the Nuggets are going to be good for a while. It's because you can bring in these talented guys that are maybe in the wrong situation or haven't unlocked something in their game and put them with Jokic, and he's going to take them to another level. And that's exactly what happened with Bruce Brown. Now, let's not say that he's just a product of Jokic, because that's not the case at all. This guy, there's clearly talent there, but it had to be tapped into, and it was playing with a guy like Nikola Jokic. Brown was just nails all postseason. Even when, you know, sometimes he can get erratic and wild, he's always a presence defensively, and he's always trying hard. And that's important. That's what allowed him to stay on the court even when his offense wasn't at his best. But when his offense was at his best, you see that in Game 4. You see that in, you know, the Suns series, some of the earlier series in this postseason. And I just felt like he was always instant transition. You know, when he has the ball in open space, you know, moving down the court, he's extremely quick, gets to the rim, very good finishing. You know, his three-point shot, he was 0 for 5 tonight, but generally shoots well from 3. I mean, this guy's just awesome. He's everywhere. And he had a big putback late in the game. Okay, we're going to get to the number 2 guy, Murray. So happy for the guy, you know, after injury that kept him out for 2 postseasons. He had, like, one of his more quiet games, but it didn't feel like it. You know, he had 14, 8, and 8. But this guy just, I waxed poetically about him in the last video, so I don't need to go too far, but I really feel like he's on the Klay level, you know, prime Klay Thompson level, you know, one of the most elite 2s you can get out there. Just a perfect combination with Jokic, and I'll speak more to it, but I feel like, you know, with this combo, you know, I guess you can throw in Porter, but with the combo of Jokic and Murray, I just see them for the next 4 or 5 years dominating the league, and I don't see any reason why they don't win or are in the championship for the next 4 to 5 seasons. I mean, this is just a combination we haven't seen in a little while. So, a big man guard combination. I'm trying to think off the top of my head here. You know, I don't want to shortchange anybody, but this is a big man guard combination. I think it's safe to say that we have not seen in a very, very long time. Very long time. Maybe Kobe, Shaq, but this feels different. This feels different. You know, Parker, Duncan. This feels a little bit different, just in the style of play. You know, I feel like probably Parker Duncan's closer than Kobe Shaq, but I mean, I don't know. I don't want to start comparing things. I'm probably forgetting a team here or there, but you know, this is a duo that, man, Murray is just, he's so awesome, and very, very happy for him. It was cool to see him at the end. Okay, and now let's finish the guy. This guy, the Serbian sensation. I call him the magician, the Joker, Finals MVP. 28 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists. He easily could have had a triple-double tonight if his team didn't shoot 17% from almost 18%, 17.9% from 3. This guy, you know, he's even changed the minds of people like Mark Jackson. You know, everybody agrees this guy's the best player in the league now, and for good reason. He just absolutely dominated the postseason, led the postseason in points, rebounds, assists. I mean, this guy I would have to say is probably my favorite player in the league. You know, I knew he was good, and I always rooted for him in past seasons, but I will apologize to the Nuggets and say I thought you guys were a favorable matchup for the Suns. I just didn't believe it because I hadn't seen it. You know, and that's pretty much what we all do, but I just didn't believe that. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I was like, I just felt like there's always been a softness in my mind, at least associated with the Nuggets as a franchise. You know, there's something where like they're good at certain regular seasons, but they never really put it together in the postseason. So, you know, I kind of had that same feeling at times heading into this postseason, but they totally answered all the questions. Jokic, throughout, I mean, just showed that he took this franchise and this team to a different level. 28 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, like I said, but throughout the postseason, just, you know, cementing himself as the best. And that was the best, you know, that was the thing at the end that made me super happy. I feel like this was a deserved title, especially with all the MVP stuff throughout the season, how people would, you know, like Kendrick Perkins and Mark Jackson tore him down to prop up some guy that has never gotten past the second round. And I just think it's so fun. You know, as a guy that's a Jokic fan and not an NBA, it's so funny how after all that screaming and crying and kicking from Embiid to get that MVP, he's sitting at home watching this guy who literally doesn't even care about the MVP or cares very little, winning a finals MVP and bringing a championship to a team that's never won, been an ABA franchise, came over to the NBA, never made the finals. He got him there, won it in 5 like I predicted. Man, it just feels so good. This guy is just on a different level. And, you know, he's in the, I spoke to it in a video or two ago. He's in all the stats with Wilt and Kareem, and I'll probably make another video about it. But man, I feel like this guy, when I watch him, I've said it, so I'm not going to repeat myself too much, but he's one of the best players, in my opinion, ever, that I've ever seen. And now it's legacy building time. And this first one was huge. Just getting one is huge. And the way that he got it, just absolutely dominating, carrying his team to the postseason. But like I said, I don't think this is it. I think there's going to be more to come. And so, like I said, I think, you know, the more he wins in the postseason, the more he shines on the biggest stage, the more he validates that statement that I think he's one of the best ever. So just it was a super fun finals, you know, even though it was 5 games. I mean, they were mostly close. I think game 3 was the only one that wasn't super close throughout, but just a great postseason. Super happy for the Nuggets Nation that they got a victory, and you know, more to come as far as NBA content. I'm going to be covering a lot of the you know, NBA is easy to cover, you know, as you know, football pretty easy to cover too. Baseball not as easy, just because they don't have these big superstars, but the NBA is easy to cover. I mean, there's a lot of rumors, but I want to dive deeper, you know, into the Nuggets and the Heat future. Just kind of talking about, you know, what's next. Where do I think this team can go? Where do I think Jokic can go? So be on the lookout for those videos. But a longer, almost 18-minute video, I think it's worthy. That was a super fun final, super fun playoffs, and yeah, now it's off-season time. So get ready for a little bit more baseball content, and we'll ramp up into you know, we'll ramp up into football when that comes. But for now, get ready for some baseball and some off-season content. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm out.